Hi, thank you for joining me in this gentle yoga practice. The sequence that I'm going to go through with you now is a 30-minute sequence that is accessible for anybody. It's so accessible that I call it my in-bed yoga sequence. And the reason for promoting an in-bed yoga sequence is because it is a routine that we all go through for those of us that can easily access and are mobile enough to access a bed. It's a routine that we go through every day in the nighttime and morning. And because of that, you can go through these simple exercises, the movement sequence, the breathing sequence, and the awareness and relaxation sequence that I'm going to go through with you now. You can do it when you familiarize yourself with the sequencing and you become familiar with them. You can do it in any order, and you can do it at whatever pace you like. So you can do 5 minutes before you go to sleep, 5 hours when you wake up in the morning, whatever you like. So all that you need is your body and your bed, or for now I'm going to be doing this on a mat, and you might like a cushion or a pillow. So the first part of this gentle yoga sequence is to lie down comfortably. So you might like a little pillow under the head. Some of you might prefer to have the knees bent as you lie down, just to make sure that the back is more comfortable. Make sure that your pillows aren't too high, so you're not overstraining in your neck. Just a little bit of a lift in the back of the head if that's comfortable, and of course you go without a pillow if you're happy and comfortable to do it without. You can keep the knees bent with feet on the mat, and we start out just placing your hands on your belly here, resting them gently and closing your eyes, and taking your time to try to steady your body in this position. So just if there's discomfort, try to sense how the body is as you try to find stillness, and how the mind reacts to this possibility of finding comfort and stillness in your body. And notice if there are areas of the body that you can control the comfort. So maybe you might need to tilt the pelvis back a little bit. You might need to pull the ribs in. You might need to drop the shoulders out of the ears and release the neck. You might like a pillow underneath the knees to support the lower back. So just considering everything that is in your control here and now. And allow yourself to feel comforted by that which you can control. And then acknowledge the areas of the body that you are not in control of right now. So they would be areas of injury, of pain, of discomfort. And just allow yourself to acknowledge, to listen, and to sense those areas of the body without any judgment or questioning, just an awareness, an acknowledgement. It's as if you are saying, I hear you, to your physical body. And now notice how it is for your thoughts to be asked to stay steady and still and quiet in this position. What does your mind want to do? Does it want to run away? Does it feel irritated? Is it happy and content to be still and quiet? Or does the mind feel heavy, tired? Does it want to switch off and disassociate with this request, the request to acknowledge? And now notice how it is for you energetically. How is your energy as you lie here? Again, do you feel like you just want to fall asleep, or do you feel jittery and feel like you want to run away? Or is the energy somewhere in between? Again, there's no editing or judgment, it's just a listening. I hear how my energy is. And finally, checking in with your emotional well-being, your emotional states. Are there feelings rising to the surface as you request of yourself to stay still and steady? Does it make you feel happy, angry, frustrated, content? And just an acknowledgement, a noticing, a listening. And now, after we've acknowledged ourselves fully and deeply, move your attention and awareness to your breathing, your natural rhythm of breath. You don't need to change it, you don't need to exaggerate it. Just listening to your natural rhythm of breath, but trying now to breathe in and out of the nostrils. Lips gently together, no tension in the throat or in the neck or in the mouth. Your natural rhythm, breaths moving in and breath moving out. In and out of the nostrils. So continue with your same speed or rhythm of breath. But try to encourage the depth of your breath to move down into your belly. So that as you breathe in, your belly rises big and full and round. And as you breathe out, your belly falls. You might like to imagine a balloon inflating in that abdominal cavity between your rib cage and your pelvis. Balloon inflating as you breathe in and deflating as you breathe out. Give yourself 3 more rounds of breaths now, breathing into a big, full and round abdomen. And as you breathe out, deflating, allowing that abdomen to fall and relax. And 2 more rounds of breath in your rhythm. Continue to breathe like this. And now we're going to move on to the third part of this sequence. We've started out with the awareness exercise, we've moved into the breathing, and now we're going to move into joint mobility exercises. So taking your time to stretch out the legs if the knees have been bent. Pause for a moment. And then we find the fingers and the toes. So you can do these separately or together, trying to stretch out the fingers as wide as you possibly can and stretching out the toes as wide as you can, and then gently squeezing them, pulling them together Imagine the webbing, the skin between the base of each finger and each toe, and just stretching them out and then relaxing them. Try to imagine that you're breathing into each area of the body as I direct you to move in that body part. Fingers and toes stretching and bending. Then we work into ankles and wrists, and you can do these separately. You can start with the wrists, or start with the ankles, or bring them all together, or do just right side and then left side, trying to find gentle movements for yourself in the ankles and in the wrists. Moving from the ankles and the wrists up into the knees and the elbows, and you might like to work the elbows first, bending and straightening in the elbows, and then working into the knees, bending the knees and straightening out. You might like to do them all together, all four together, coming in and out. You can stretch all the way in and out, or one at a time. And continue to breathe as you have been. And then we're working up from the knees into the hips and into the shoulders. And there's a little more movement happening here in the hips and shoulders, so a little more of exercising happening here. So maybe you could try to bend a little deeper, working into the knee, working up into the hip flexor as well. You might like to hug both knees. You might like to take the thighs onto the belly and just feel a little deeper there into the hips. And then you might like to open the knees nice and wide, and then close them with the feet off the mat, or with the feet on the mat, opening and closing. External and internal rotation there through the hips. And then you might like to circle the hips around. You can do this one hip at a time. Right leg circling around. You can hold onto the knee to help you. You can do the other side, or you might like to do both together, circling around, both knees working in and out, breathing into those hips, just feeling how this movement promotes mobility and lubrication through the joints. After the hips, we're going to work into the shoulders, and you can allow the fingertips to move onto the shoulders, working the shoulder blades apart and then working the shoulder blades towards each other. It's difficult to do this lying on your back to get the full range of motion through the shoulder, but you do whatever you can. You might like to circle the shoulders around, feeling these movements through the shoulders. And the shoulders then can lift up the spine. You can reach the arms over the head, tracking the shoulder blades up and then tracking them down, bending the elbows a little, and then reaching the arms overhead to track the shoulder blades up and then lowering them down. And then you can bring the whole of the spine into this. So we've done hips and shoulders, and now we're working up into the whole of the spine, lengthening the shoulders, reaching the arms over the head, lengthening the legs, working the heels as far forward as you can. Feel the whole of the spine as long as you can, the sit bones working down to the heels, breathing in and out of the nostrils, down to the belly. Feel the whole of the spine long in this position. This is the first of our spinal sequence, our spinal movements. And then gently, gently releasing, relaxing in the shoulders, relaxing in the legs, and then bending, transitioning into rounding the spine. So bending at the spine, working the thighs towards the belly, holding the hands onto the shins. Maybe staying here, just feeling the weight of the legs pressing down onto the belly and into the lower back. Or maybe lifting up, finding more of a rounding action, holding onto the shins or maybe onto the feet, and getting a full bend in the spine here, allowing the head to drop, breathing. You can have a little rock from side to side, massaging each side of the spine. And then slowly, slowly lowering back down through the shoulders and the head, releasing the feet down one at a time or both together. Pressing down into the hands, and then we're working through the pelvis, so tilting the pelvis forward and back, pushing strongly into your feet, the front of the hip bones rocking forward and back, trying to keep the ribs in and steady as you do this, just the pelvis, massaging into the lower back and getting some mobility there. Pressing strongly into the feet. And then flattening into the lower back, pressing it down, keeping the ribs in. Maybe raising the arms above the head and see if you can work into the rib cage. So you can work the ribs from side to side. You can work the ribs forward and back. Breathing into the ribs. You can circle the ribs around. Pressing the back ribs into the mat. And then pulling them away from the mat and trying to keep the pelvis steady as you do this. This is a challenge. Breathing all the time in and out of the nostrils. Good. Extending the legs out again, and we're going to come into a side bend for the spine. Remove the pillow if you can. And we're going to reach the arms over the head. You can hold on to your elbows or hold on to one wrist, whatever feels easiest for you. Try to pull the front ribs in, lengthen the lower back. And then reaching the elbows, you can lift them up over the head and then reach them over to one side. Let's try the left side first, so that the whole of the right side of the body is long as you can make it. And the left side of the body now is shortening, feeling the spine in a bent position here. If it feels okay, you might like to wiggle your feet over to the left to get more of that bend on the left side and lengthen through the right side. And if that feels really comfy, you might be able to cross the legs there, one on top of the other. You might even bend the knees if you prefer, but trying to feel length through the whole of the right side. Take your time to slowly release the top foot, to walk the feet back. No pain in the back as you do this. If you have pain, you've gone too far. Lifting the elbows up and slowly, slowly, slowly coming back. And then we try it to the other side, lifting the arms, reaching over to the right. Feel the length through the whole of the right side of the body, shortening through the left side of the body, shortening the right side. Maybe wiggling the feet over or just crawling them over to the right. And then maybe crossing the left leg over the right and breathing into this. Feeling lovely opening through the left side of the body, a bending of the spine. Releasing the top foot, continue to breathe all the time, come back to the center with the feet, maybe lifting the elbows, coming back, reaching out back into that lengthening action in the spine again, heels pushing forward, sit bones pushing down to the heels, shoulder blades tracking up the spine, arms reaching overhead, or maybe lifting the upper arms above the head if it feels too much with the arms overhead. And of course you can bend the elbows if it feels too much as well. Breathing there. The final spinal movement we're going to explore is the twisting, bending the knees, placing the feet on the mat and bending the elbows. And slowly, slowly allowing both knees to fall over to the left. Keep the elbows where they are. Breathe there. You can take this as deep as you like. You can work the knees closer together. You can walk the knees a little higher. You can cross the top leg over the bottom leg. Press down into the outside shoulder. Slowly, slowly releasing out. Slowly taking the feet back onto the mat, wiggling the hips back to the center. And then doing it to the other side, allow the knees to fall to the right. If you wish, you can stack the knees. If you wish, you can go a little further. You can cross one leg over the other. Keep the outside, the left shoulder pressing down. You can look straight ahead or to the left. Breathe. Feel that twist through the spine. Take your time to release the top leg if you've twisted it. Slowly coming back to the center, move the head and the legs at the same time. Pausing there. Releasing the spine and slowly stretching the legs out onto the ground or onto your mat or onto your bed. Releasing your hands onto your belly, allowing the shoulders to drop. Try to release any tension in the buttocks, any tension through the pelvis and the hips, in the rib cage, in the shoulders, in the chest, in the neck, lengthening the back of the head. Allow the shoulders to drop down. Closing the eyes and allow the breath to move down to the belly. Back to that abdominal breath, breathing in through the nose, a big belly. Out through the nose, a small belly. Trying to count 5 breaths now, but reverse count as you breathe. So inhale, exhale is 5. Inhale, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1 in your rhythm. If you lose count, begin again at 5. And if you make it all the way down to 1, begin again at 5. See if it's possible to make your exhalation a little longer. Without force, without strain, a little longer on the exhale. And you can continue reverse count breathing for as long as you like until you feel deeply settled in your physical body, in your mind, in your emotions, and in your energy. You can stay here as long as you like. Well done. Well done.